for matter. Now we are going to start next another new chapter, that is thermochemistry. Thermochemistry. Basically, this thermochemistry this is a very important chapter in physical chemistry. Now here it is a part of thermodynamics. In 11th NCERT part 1 in physical chemistry there is a chapter thermodynamics. Thermodynamics and the continuation topic is the thermochemistry, isn't it? Now basically in this chapter what we deals with the energy changes, that is the heat exchanges between system and surrounding. The system is a chemical reaction. How much of heat exchanges between system and surroundings during a chemical reaction is referred as a thermochemistry. It is a branch of physical chemistry that deals with the energy exchanges occurring during a chemical reaction with its surroundings. Basically, in any chemical reaction, what happens? Reactants combine, reactants react to give products. In this situation, what happens? The old bonds between the reacting molecules has to be break down, and the new bonds must be set up, so that old bonds are breaking and new bonds are forming to give a new product in a chemical reaction. Now, in the phase transformation also, there is a energy exchanging, like melting of substance, boiling of a substance, isn't it? Let us say water in solid state at 0 degrees Celsius, when it is kept at room temperature, it is slowly melted to give liquid water. When it is kept at 100 degrees, then what happens? Liquid water boils, evaporates. That means there is a phase transformation, solid to liquid, liquid to vapor. For this phase transformation also, heat energy required. So this is called thermochemistry. Basically, it is a branch of physical chemistry which deals with energy exchanges during a chemical reaction or phase transformation. Here, physical chemistry, it is a branch of physical chemistry which dealing with the energy changes during a course of a chemical reaction or during a phase transformation. Now, in this thermochemistry, basically we have to know enthalpy. We have to know what is the enthalpy or enthalpy change, that is change in enthalpy of a reaction. So enthalpy, basically in thermodynamics we know enthalpy, it is a heat content of a system at constant temperature and pressure. Now here enthalpy, it is a thermodynamic function. It is a thermodynamic function. It involves it is a sum of internal energy and work form of energy, which involves internal energy and also the work form of the energy. Now here enthalpy, internal energy U, and PV. PV is called work form of the energy. P multiplied by V is called work form of the energy, where H is known as a enthalpy. U, sometimes it is also known as a E, that is called internal energy. Internal energy, isn't it? P, pressure. V, volume. Now here, in most of chemical reactions, the pressure is constant, that is the atmospheric pressure. In most of chemical reactions, pressure is constant, which is a atmospheric pressure. Let us say, suppose any chemical reaction going to take place in this room. Let us say we are boiling the water. When we are boiling the water, what is the pressure about the on the surface of the water? Basically, surrounding pressure, that is called atmospheric pressure. So here, in most of the chemical reactions, pressure is kept constant. So atmospheric pressure. Now, here, in this situation, we are calculating change in enthalpy. So change in internal energy and change in PV. Now, just now I told you the pressure constant. So bring the constant pressure to outside. So you will get delta H is equal to delta U plus P delta V. This is a very important relation between change in enthalpy and change in internal energy. Here, from ideal gas equation, we know PV is equal to nRT. Now here, pressure is the atmospheric pressure, R is a gas constant, that is universal gas constant, and T is the absolute temperature. Here the reaction generally taking place at a constant temperature. Suppose here we are doing boiling of water in a classroom. That means the classroom temperature, the room temperature is nearly 25 degrees Celsius, isn't it? That means temperature is constant, R value constant. Now the external pressure is constant. If the volume changes, the proportionality number of moles changes, isn't it? So this is very important relation. Now write the P delta V here, delta N RT. Here delta N, I am writing G. Here G stands for gaseous substances. Change in the number of moles of the gaseous substances. So delta H is equal to delta U plus delta Ng into RT. So this is a relation between delta H and delta U. Here delta Ng will be the total number of moles of gaseous products minus of total number of moles of gaseous reactants. This is very important. In case of solids and liquids, we should not consider the number of moles, only we consider the number of moles for gaseous species. Now here delta H, change in enthalpy, delta U, change in internal energy. Now change in enthalpy at constant pressure, change in internal energy at constant volume. Suppose in any closed container, rigid container, closed container where the volume of the vessel is constant, in that situation the energy changes nothing but internal energy change, which is referred as a delta U. Now, suppose we have bomb calorimeter, one experiment is there to calculate the heat of combustion. Heat of combustion. In the situation, what we have to do, first of all, we have to calculate the internal energy change in the bomb calorimeter, and after the calculating of delta U, that delta U will be converted into the delta H. Delta H is equal to delta U plus delta Ng into RT. Isn't it? Now here, suppose delta Ng value, based on the delta Ng value, delta H, delta E relation changes. Now, here, case 1, if delta Ng 0, there is no change in the number of gases products and gases reactants. That is, total number of moles of gases products equal to total number of moles of gases reactants. Then what happens? Change in number of moles becomes 0. So delta H, delta U both are equal. Yes or no? Yes. Now, case 2. If delta Ng greater than 0, that is positive. So delta Ng greater than 0, that means delta H should always greater than delta U. Yes or no? Now, condition number, if delta Ng less than 0, that is negative, so obviously delta H should be less than delta U. This is a very important relation between delta H and delta U, where delta H is a change in enthalpy at a constant pressure, while delta U change in internal energy at a constant volume. Suppose question is given like this. Write the relation between delta H and delta U in the following reactions. First question, hydrogen combined with chlorine to give hydrogen chloride. So it is very important to mention the physical state of all the participating substances, reactants and products, isn't it? Number 2, second question, nitrogen combined with oxygen to give nitric oxide. Question number 3, carbon, that is the allotropic, crystalline allotropic form of carbon is graphite. The combustion of graphite to give carbon dioxide. Next, nitrogen combined with hydrogen to give ammonia gas. Benzene, the physical state of a benzene, liquid. Combustion of a benzene, oxidation of a benzene with atmospheric air or oxygen to give carbon dioxide and water. Do you know water? Liquid at room temperature, CO2 gaseous state and oxygen is gaseous state. Now come to balancing of this equation. How many carbon atoms are there? 6. So 6 CO2 molecules. Each carbon get oxidized into carbon dioxide, so 6 carbons are there, so 6 carbons will get oxidized into 6 moles of CO2. Now come to hydrogens are 6, here already 2 is there, so multiplied by 3, so 3 2s are 6 hydrogens are completely balanced. Now come to balancing of oxygen, here right side oxygen 6 2s are 12 plus 3, 15, so I am writing 7.5. Because already 2 oxygens are there, 7.5 into 2, that is 15 oxygens. Now one more example, benzoic acid C6H5COOH. Benzoic acid is a crystalline solid at room temperature. Now the combustion of the benzoic acid, again you will get carbon dioxide and water. Water physical state, room temperature, CO2, O2. Now, benzoic acid is a crystalline solid, isn't it? Now total 7 carbons are there, so I am writing 7 moles of CO2. Now come to hydrogens are there 6, so here I am writing 3. Now come to oxygen, 7 2s are 14 plus 3 15. 7 2s are 14, 14 plus 3 17. 17 minus 2 15, so I am writing 7.5, that is 15 by 2. Now these are some problems given to you. Now we have to identify the relation between the delta H and delta U. Once we know the delta Ng value, it is very easy to predict the relation between del H and delta U. Okay. Now this is very important to identify the physical state of the each participating substance. Okay. Now come to first problem. So 1 mole of gas is hydrogen, 1 mole of gas is chlorine will combine to give 2 moles of gaseous hydrogen chloride. So what is the delta Ng value here? Total number of moles of gaseous products minus total number of moles of gaseous reactants. So delta Ng value 0. So what is the relation between delta H and delta U? Delta H is equal to delta U plus delta Ng into RT. So this is a very important relation. We should remember this relation. So here delta Ng value 0, 0 into anything is 0. So delta H is equal to delta U. So this is the relation between delta H and delta U. Delta H is equal to what? Delta U. This is the first problem. Now come to second one. Nitrogen gaseous state, oxygen gaseous state, nitric oxide is a gaseous state. Again delta Ng is equal to total number of moles of gaseous products minus total number of moles of gaseous reactants. Again the delta Ng value 0, so delta H and delta U both are equal. Remember, in the question, suppose delta U given to you, find the delta H. Delta U given to you, delta H or vice versa. Otherwise, we have to find the difference between delta H and delta U. Suppose if you want to calculate the difference between delta H and delta U, that is equal to delta Ng RT? Yes. So the difference between del H and del U is equal to delta Ng multiplied by RT. Now the next numerical problem, graphite. Graphite is a solid state, O2 and CO2 only gaseous state. So we have to consider only number of moles of gases, isn't it? Now the change in number of moles of products and reactants, what happens? 0. So again here the problem delta H and delta U both are equal. Now come to this problem. 1 mole nitrogen, 3 mole hydrogen, 2 moles ammonia. So delta Ng value 2 minus of 1 plus 3, that is minus 2. So delta H is equal to delta U minus 2 into RT. This is very important. Because delta Ng value minus 2 into RT minus 2 RT. So this is the relation between delta H and delta U. Now come to next to benzene. Benzene is liquid, oxygen gaseous state, CO2 gaseous state, hydrogen liquid state. Liquid moles not considered, only gases. So this is 15 by 2 moles. So what is the delta Ng value here? 6 minus 15 by 2. That is minus 1 by 2. Isn't it? Minus 3 by 2. Minus 3 by 2. So delta H is equal to delta U minus 3 by 2 RT. Relation between delta H and delta U. Now next one, benzoic acid oxidation. Benzoic acid is a solid, so we should not consider. Again the delta Ng value, right side gaseous moles minus left side gaseous moles. Isn't it? Isn't it? Right side gaseous moles 7, left side gaseous moles 15 by 2. So this is minus 1 by 2. So delta H is equal to delta U minus RT by 2, because delta H is equal to minus 0.5, that is minus half. So this is the problem based upon the delta H and delta U relation. Delta H and delta U relation. Now, types of chemical reactions based on energy changes. According to heat energy changes or energy changes, reactions are classified into two types: exothermic reactions, number two, endothermic reactions. Based upon energy changes, how many types of reactions are there? Two types of reactions are there. Number one is exothermic reactions, number two, endothermic reactions. Here, exothermic reactions, in these reactions, heat energy liberated. The reactions in which heat energy liberated, the reactions in which heat energy evolved during the course of a reaction, the reaction accompanying by the liberation of heat energy is referred as a exothermic reaction. And here, in these reactions, heat energy absorbed. During the course of a chemical reaction, if heat energy is gaining, heat energy is absorbing, such reactions are referred as a endothermic reactions. Now here, in this products are relatively more stable than reactant. In this, reactants are relatively more stable than products. In this, what happens? Delta H is equal to negative. In these reactions, delta H is positive. Now basically, delta H, just now I told you, change in enthalpy. Basically, the change in enthalpy is a difference between the enthalpy of products minus enthalpy of reactants. Actual formula: enthalpy of products minus enthalpy of reactants. Isn't it? Here, if the enthalpy of reactants is more as compared to products, enthalpy of reactants are more as compared to products, you will get the delta H value negative. In this situation, if the enthalpy of products is greater than the enthalpy of reactants, then delta H value positive. This is a representation of thermodynamic notation. Whenever in a given numerical, if the delta H value represented with a negative sign, that means this is an exothermic reaction. Heat liberated. Heat liberated. If the delta H value is positive, that means heat absorbed. Heat absorbed. Now come to energy profile diagram. If you draw a plot between potential energy versus reaction progress. Reaction progress. Basically, let us say this is the energy of the reactants and this is the energy of the products. So during a course of a chemical reaction, the reactive molecules have to cross a highest energy barrier. After that, they convert it into products. They have to cross certain energy barrier. They have to cross certain energy barrier. Yes or no? Now, here to here, the energy, this is enthalpy of the products, and from here to here, enthalpy of reactants. The difference between enthalpy of products and enthalpy of reactants, isn't it, is known as a change in enthalpy. This is the enthalpy of the reactants and this is the enthalpy of the product. The difference of these two is called delta H. Now the delta H value is negative. The delta H value is negative. Come to here. Reactants energy, products energy. So reactants, they cross energy barrier and they convert it into products. This is the highest energy barrier they have to cross. So here to here, enthalpy of the reactants, and here to here, the difference is enthalpy of products. Now the difference of enthalpy of product and the difference between product and reactant is called delta H. Now the delta H value positive. Delta H value is positive. If the delta H value is negative, then the reaction is called delta H value negative, the reaction is called exothermic reaction. If the delta H value is positive, such reactions are known as endothermic reactions. Now come to some examples. Now, combustion reactions. All combustion reactions are exothermic. Combustion means heating of a substance in the presence of air or oxygen. That means when a substance undergoes combustion, obviously it liberates heat energy. Yes or no? Let us say carbon combustion with oxygen. Now here carbon take an ion as a graphite form. Now the delta H value minus 393.5 kilojoule per mole of graphite. Now here methane oxidation CO2 and H2O. Delta H is equal to minus 890.8 kilojoule per mole of methane. Now acid base reaction, acid combined with a base to form salt and water. This reaction known as a neutralization reaction. Neutralization reactions also exothermic reactions. So delta H is equal to minus 57.3 kilojoule. When one equivalent of acid, one equivalent of a base, when they combine. Now these are the example for exothermic reactions because the delta H value given minus 393.5. Now actually we can write plus 393.5 kilojoule also. This is a old notation. If you write plus 393.5 kilojoule, or instead of writing plus 393.5, if you write the delta H is equal minus 393.5, both are same. Both are same. Now these are the example for exothermic reactions. Come to endothermic reactions. Basically, formation of ozone. Basically, ozone is unstable. So, to prepare the ozone from dioxygen, so this is a endothermic reaction. So, delta H value is positive. Now, the decomposition, limestone, let us say CaCO3, thermal decomposition CaO and CO2. Again, the delta H value is positive. Now, decomposition of phosphorus pentachloride to give phosphorus trichloride and elementary chlorine gas. Again, delta H value positive. Dinitrogen combined with dioxide to give nitric oxide. This is also positive value. That means these reactions are referred as a endothermic reactions. Endothermic reactions. And these reactions are referred as a exothermic reactions. So finally, according to energy exchanges, reactions are classified into two types. Number one, exothermic reactions, and number two, endothermic reactions. Okay. Next one, thermochemical equation. Thermochemical equation. What is the meaning of a thermochemical equation? It is a balanced chemical reaction with a proper sign of del H. This is very important. The proper sign of del H, that means if the del H value is negative or positive, that is very important. If it is negative, that is exothermic. If it is positive, that is endothermic reaction. And all the physical states of substances are mentioned in brackets after their symbols. Whatever the reactions we written here, basically O2, O3 gases, limestone solid, quicklime solid, CO2 gas. So PCl3, PCl5, Cl2 gases, N2, O2 and NO gases. So all these reactions are known as a thermochemical reactions, isn't it? Dinitrogen, hydrogen to give ammonia. Ammonia is a gas, H2N2 also gases. The proper sign of the delta H, this is very important, isn't it? Minus 92 kilojoule. This is very important, isn't it? Hydrogen combined with oxygen to give water. delta H is equal to minus 280 to 286 kilojoule, isn't it? Now, the proper sign of the delta H, this is very important. N2 plus O2 gives NO. Delta H is equal to so these equations are known as a thermochemical equations. These equations are known as a thermochemical equation. It is a chemical reaction, that is a balanced reaction in which delta H must be have proper sign, whether it is positive or negative, and also the physical state of each and every substance must be mentioned in the bracket after their symbols. After their symbols. Now, there are some laws regarding thermochemistry. In any thermochemical reaction, what are the characteristics? Characteristics of thermochemical equation. Number one, it must be balanced. This is compulsory. Whenever a thermochemical equation is given, that must be balanced. Suppose nitrogen atoms 2, oxygen atoms 2. On the right side also, nitrogen atoms 2, oxygen atoms are 2. Isn't it? So, the equation must be balanced. Number one. Number two, here it must have a proper sign of delta H, because delta H has two values, positive or negative. This is very important. What is the proper sign of the delta H, whether it is exothermic or endothermic? By seeing the reaction, we can easily identify if the reaction is exo or endothermic reaction. Suppose here delta H value negative, immediately I can say this is a exothermic reaction. By seeing the delta H value positive, I can conclude this reaction is endothermic reaction. Now the next one important thing is, if a thermochemical equation is reversal, if a thermochemical reaction is reversal, then delta H sign changes, but the magnitude will be remains same. This law is known as Lavoisier-Laplace law. Lavoisier and Laplace law. Suppose I have A to B, one thermochemical equation. Suppose here the delta H value I am writing minus x. If I reverse the equation, that is I am writing from B to A, immediately the delta H value, what happens? Plus x. That means the sign only changes, but the magnitude value will be remains same. This is very important. Suppose if I am writing the formation of ammonia, that is N2 plus 3H2 2NH3, where delta H is equal to minus 92. If I want to write the decomposition of ammonia, so immediately if you write the decomposition of ammonia, that is 2NH3 gives N2 plus 3H2, the delta H value become plus 92. The sign changes but the magnitude will be remains same. Now, suppose a thermochemical equation is there A to B where delta H value is equal to minus X. Suppose if I am multiplying a thermochemical equation with a suitable integer, then del H also should be multiplied with that same integer. Let us say I am multiplying with 2 on both sides. So the delta H value become minus 2x. Because we are multiplying into 2. Now here one more important thing is the enthalpy. Enthalpy is a extensive property. Change in enthalpy or enthalpy is a extensive property. Extensive property, it is a property which depends upon the mass of the system. When the mass of the system is number of moles of the system. Now for 1 mole of A to give 1 mole of B, delta H is equal to X minus X. Then 2 moles of A gives 2 moles of B, then delta H become double obviously. Isn't it? That is extensive property depend upon the number of moles. That is depend upon the stoichiometry coefficient. Isn't it? Suppose if I let us say delta H is equal to minus X. If I divide it by 2 on both sides, again the delta H value get also divided by 2. Isn't it? Now suppose I have A plus B. A gives B. Here delta H suppose minus X. Here C gives D. Delta H is equal to plus Y. Now I am adding these two reactions. When I am adding these two reactions, when I am adding any two chemical equations, let us say reactants are added and products is also added. Just now I told you enthalpy is a extensive property. Isn't it? So which depend upon the total number of total amount of the system. So here I am adding these two. So the extensive property can also refer as an additive property. Extensive property can also refer as a additive property. Let us say this is delta H1, this is delta H2. The resultant delta H is equal to delta H1 plus delta H2. That is equal to minus X plus Y. So these are some rules regarding a thermochemical equation. So each thermochemical equation must be balanced and with the proper sign of the delta H value. If a thermochemical equation is reversal, the delta H sign will be changes but the magnitude will be remain same. This is called Lavoisier Laplace law. When a thermochemical equation multiplied by a suitable integer, then the delta H is also multiplied with that same suitable integer. If we divide with a suitable integer by a thermochemical equation, then again the delta H also be divided by the suitable integer. If we adding 2 or more thermochemical equations, then delta H is a extensive property which is a additive property. So the delta H value, that is the algebraic sum of these two reactions, that is delta H1 plus delta H2. Now enthalpy of a reaction or heat of a reaction. Here it is represented as a delta H R. R stands for reaction, delta H stands for enthalpy. Otherwise we can also write delta R H. Delta R H, delta H R. Now there are different types of chemical reaction. Suppose combustion reaction is there, formation reaction is there, sublimation reaction is there, melting, boiling, evaporation, condensation, isn't it? So there are different types of chemical reactions in which the energy changes will be different. So the name of energy changes in a chemical reaction is a enthalpy of a reaction. Isn't it? It is the total amount of heat energy that liberated or absorbed, the total amount of heat energy that liberated or absorbed when all the reactants are completely converted into products as per their stoichiometry. Suppose 2 moles of A is there, 3 moles of B is there. When they combine to give 1 mole of C and 4 moles of D, suppose. These reactants, that is 2 moles of A, 3 moles of B, combine to give 1 mole of C and 4 moles of D. In this situation, the amount of heat energy either release or absorb is called enthalpy of reaction or heat of reaction. So there are different types of enthalpies of reaction. Enthalpy of formation, that is when 1 mole of a compound is formed, the energy changes. Enthalpy of combustion, when 1 mole of a compound is allowed to combustion. Enthalpy of a solution, when a solute dissolved in a suitable solvent, isn't it the formation of a solution? Enthalpy of neutralization, acid-base reaction, when acid combined with a base to form salt and water, the heat energy releases is called enthalpy of neutralization, isn't it? So there are different types of enthalpies of reaction. So this is very important. The reaction is which type of chemical reaction. Based on that, we will give name of that particular enthalpy of reaction, isn't it? Now here, nitrogen, hydrogen combine to give ammonia. This is delta H is equal to minus 92. This is the enthalpy of reaction. Enthalpy of the reaction, isn't it? Now, methane, oxidation, CO2, H2O. In this reaction, the enthalpy of reaction is equal to 890.8 kilojoule. Isn't it? Now come to nitrogen, oxygen to give nitric oxide. Here we have to write the physical state. Delta H is equal to 90.2 kilojoule. Now the enthalpy of reaction may be positive, that is endothermic, may be negative, that is exothermic. Now come to what factors will affect the delta H. Factors affecting enthalpy of a reaction, that is delta RH or delta HR. What factors will governing the delta H value? Isn't it? Number 1, quantities of reactants, products. Here, if we double the quantities of reactants, then the delta H value also get double, because enthalpy is a mass dependent, that is extensive property, isn't it? So the quantities, that is the stoichiometry of reactants, this is very important. Let us say, suppose hydrogen combined with oxygen to give water. Hydrogen combined with oxygen to give water. So water liquid state, hydrogen, oxygen gaseous state. The enthalpy of the reaction is equal to minus 286 kilojoule per mole of formation of liquid water. Suppose if I multiply it into 2 on both sides, 2H2 plus O2 gives 2H2O, isn't it? Then what about the delta H value? Will we get double? Yes, minus 2 into 286. Why I am getting double? Why I am converting the value double? Because the quantities are getting double. 1 become 2, 1 by 2 become 1, 1 become 2. So the quantities of participating species will affect the enthalpy of the reaction. Number 2. Physical state. Substances. This is very important. The physical state of a substance can also affect the enthalpy of reaction because the latent heat involves in the phase transformation. That is one state to another state. The latent heat involves, isn't it? Suppose, same example, hydrogen combined with oxygen to give water. Basically, we know water is a liquid at room temperature, isn't it? Now, this is the minus 286 kilojoule per mole of liquid water formation. Now, what I am doing here, H2 plus half O2 gives H2O. Now, H2O in the vapor phase. Suppose I am carrying the this reaction at 100 or more than 100 degrees Celsius. Then what about the more than or 100 degree temperature water gets evaporated? That is the ideal gas, isn't it? Now delta H is equal to minus 242 kilojoule. So do you identify the difference here? Liquid water, when it is forming, this much of heat energy release, whereas the gaseous state, this much of energy releases. So definitely the delta H of a reaction will depend upon the physical state of the substances. Physical state of the substances. Now here, actual values I am writing. This is a practical data. Suppose in the question, hydrogen, oxygen combined to give water liquid. Isn't it? Delta H, let us say minus X. Hydrogen combined with oxygen to give gaseous water. Delta H is equal to minus Y. Then, which of the following is correct? Number 1, X greater than Y, or Y greater than X, or X is equal to Y. None of these. Actually, from the standard example data, we know the liquid water formation, the delta H value is greater than as compared to gaseous one. Remember, the negative sign corresponding to the heat energy releases. Here 286 kilojoules heat energy releases, here 242 kilojoules heat energy releases. Suppose if we do not know these values, then how to calculate the relation between X and Y? Now, what I am doing here, H2 plus half O2 H2O. Write the first equation as usual, where delta H1, let us say minus X. Now what I am doing, I am reversing the equation 2. So when we are reversing the equation 2, what about the sign of delta H changes, but the magnitude remains same, only the sign convention changes, isn't it? Now we are adding these two equations. So when we are adding these two equations, hydrogen, oxygen get cancelled on the left side and right side. So water gaseous state, water liquid state. Now the delta H is equal, shall write minus X plus Y addition or Y minus X. Now tell me, gaseous state converted into liquid state, is it exothermic or endothermic? Condensation of gases, evaporation of gases, that is a endothermic reaction. When a liquid to become a gas, definitely heat energy required. Yes, because water molecules possess strong intermolecular hydrogen bonding. In order to break this hydrogen bonding, and each water molecule should go into evaporate state, isn't it? In which the distance between the particles is very far. So what we have to do, we have to supply some extra amount of energy, isn't it? So that the hydrogen bonds has to be break down and particles move far away. So obviously the backward reaction is 100% endothermic reaction, isn't it? That means the forward reaction should be exothermic. This reaction is what? Exothermic. Condensation of gases is always exothermic reaction. In exothermic reaction, the what is the sign of the del H? Should be negative. So for del H should be negative, y should be less than x? Yes. Del H should be negative, so y should be less than x, or x should be greater than y. Isn't it? So x should be greater than y. So this is the relation, that is factor affecting the physical state of the substance. Isn't it? Number 3. Another factor is there. At constant volume, at constant pressure. So the reaction is going at which condition? The reaction is going to take place at which condition? Whether it is occurring at constant volume or constant pressure. Just now I told you in the beginning, at constant pressure, delta H, at constant volume, delta U, related as delta H is equal to delta U plus delta Ng RT. If the reaction is occurring only at constant volume, we can calculate change in internal energy. If the reaction is carrying at constant pressure, then we have to calculate the delta H. So delta H is equal to delta U plus delta Ng RT. Isn't it? Now this is the third factor which affect the enthalpy of a reaction. Number 1, stoichiometry, quantities of substances. Number 2, physical state of the substances. Number 3, measuring at constant volume or constant pressure. Measurements are at constant volume or constant pressure. Now come to allotropic forms. Allotropic forms. This is also very important. So whenever we are dealing with allotropies, we have to clearly mention which allotropic form of that substance, that element is going to react. Let us say carbon has 2 crystalline allotropic forms, diamond and graphite. Let us say this is a graphite. Isn't it? Again, one more crystalline allotropic of carbon is diamond. Now, the enthalpy of the reaction minus 393.5 kilojoule per mole of graphite and minus 395.4 kilojoule per mole of diamond. So these are the experimental quantities, delta H values. Okay. Now, you see, in both the cases, the common CO2 gas and O2 gas. But the thing is the graphite combustion, diamond combustion, isn't it? Now here, suppose if you compare the relative stability here, diamond and graphite. Now what I am doing here, I am writing the graphite equation as usual, combustion, while I am interchanging the, reversing the diamond equation. Isn't it? Now here, this is the delta H value minus 393.5. This is the delta H value plus 395.4 kilojoule. Yes or no? by adding these two, CO2, CO2 gets cancelled, O2, O2 gets cancelled. When graphite converted into diamond, delta H value minus 393.5 plus 395, that is plus 1.9 kilojoules. Now delta H value is 1.9 kilojoule. That means conversion of a graphite to diamond is endothermic process. Now if you observe the reverse process, that is C diamond to C graphite. C diamond to C graphite, delta H is equal to what? Minus 1.9 kilojoules. This is a spontaneous, this process spontaneous. So that's why, because this is exothermic process. So people think diamond is forever, but it is not always true. Graphite is forever because diamond is spontaneously converted into graphite, but the rate of reaction is very slow because the enthalpy change is very small, minus 1.9 kilojoules. So that's why graphite is thermodynamically stable crystalline allotropy of carbon. Graphite is the stable crystalline form as compared to diamond. Alpha sulfur combustion, beta sulfur minus 297.5 minus 300 kilojoules, isn't it? Now convert the second equation, reverse, where delta H is equal to plus 300. By adding these two, S alpha, S beta, delta H is equal to plus 2.5 kilojoules. Now, if you write the reverse reaction, S beta to S alpha, delta H is equal to what? Minus 2.5 kilojoule per mole. Isn't it? So this is a spontaneous. So rhombic sulfur, although rhombic sulfur, monoclinic sulfur. So the allotropic forms will also affect the enthalpy of the reaction. Enthalpy of the reaction. So this is the example 1. This is the example 2. The stable allotropic form of sulfur, orthorhombic sulfur, and the stable allotropic form of the carbon is the graphite, isn't it? Now the next one, continuation, variation of enthalpy of a reaction with temperature. How the temperature can affect the enthalpy of a reaction? That means basically enthalpy, it is a heat content of a system at constant temperature and pressure. Basically at a particular temperature one reaction is given to you, isn't it? And enthalpy of reaction is given to you. When the temperature changes from one temperature to another temperature, then the question is asking like this: calculate the enthalpy of a reaction so and so particular temperature, isn't it? Now here, at a particular temperature, one reaction is carrying. Now here, when the reaction is completed, isn't it? Then at a particular second temperature, again the reaction enthalpy is asking. For such purpose, here we have to know Kirchhoff's equation. This Kirchhoff's equation explains the variation of enthalpy of a reaction with temperature. Here basically, let us say I have a compound A and compound B. So A converted into B. Now here A is at a temperature T1. Now B at a temperature T2, suppose. Isn't it? Now enthalpy is a state function, isn't it? Now suppose what I am doing here, I am converting A to B from B to again B. Otherwise I am converting A to again A and after that converting to B. That means here the temperature is T1. Now here same temperature from here to here T2 temperature. Isn't it? Here T1, suppose the temperature changes A from T1 to T2. After that, keeping the temperature constant, now A changes into B. In the first part, I am going to A to B, or in the second part, I am going to A to B. In both the cases, the enthalpy change remains same because it is a state function. Enthalpy is an extensive property as well as state function. Isn't it? Now come to here. Suppose delta H1. Now here there is a temperature changes. So here I am writing heat capacity at constant pressure of B and temperature difference T2 minus T1. Now here temperature is constant, so here delta H2, let us say. Here to here temperature changes, so Cp A T2 minus T1. Now what I am doing here, delta H1 plus Cp B T2 minus T1 is equal to, here what I am writing, Cp A T2 minus T1 plus delta H2. Bring the delta H one side and Cp temperature on other side. So I am writing delta H2 minus delta H1. That is, bring this delta H1 towards that side and bring that Cpa T2 minus T1 to the left hand side. So Cp minus Cpa, the common factor is the T2 minus T1. Now delta H2 minus delta H1 is equal to, shall write delta Cp and T2 minus T1. Delta Cp is the sum of the heat capacity at constant pressure of products minus sum of the heat capacities at constant pressure of the reactants. This is very important, and this equation is known as delta H2 minus delta H1 by delta Cp is equal to T2 minus T1, or divided by T2 minus T1 is equal to delta Cp. Delta Cp. Isn't it? Now here, this is a constant pressure. Suppose if the reaction going to take place at constant volume, this is at constant pressure. Similarly, at constant volume, I am taking internal energy, delta U2 minus delta U1 divided by T2 minus T1 delta Cv. Now, if delta Cp is a function of temperature, then delta H2 minus delta H1 is equal to integral delta Cp dt. Temperature ranges from T1 to T2. If the delta Cp is also a function of temperature, isn't it? Now in the problem, definitely initial temperature is given to you. At that temperature, delta H1 given to you, and final temperature is given to you, and the question is final delta H2. Now the heat capacity set constant, pressure must be given, so that we can calculate the delta Cp, that is the heat content, that is the heat capacity of the products minus heat capacity of the reactants. This is very important. And this equation is known as Kirchhoff's equation. This equation is known as what? Kirchhoff's equation. So this is the equation, that is the dependence of delta H on the temperature, dependence of enthalpy of the reaction on temperature.